Jordan Schultz, on the River Islands guest line. Hey, Jordan, thanks for coming on. How you doing?
Doing well. Thanks for having me. All good.
Yeah. Fantastic to have you, man. And obviously we are just, I won't even say knee deep. We are waist deep in all things Aiyuk. So let's start with what you know today with regard to these new conversations.
Yeah, obviously this has been one of the more, I would say, fluid, interesting situations between star player and team over the last several years. I can't remember a scenario quite like this. One of the, I think, key factors here is the fact that Aiyuk at this stage in his career, 26 years old, coming off his best year in All-Pro, I think he clearly, and I think the Niners clearly view him as one of the premier receivers in the league. The problem that San Francisco has had is that they've had so many, this is the issue with drafting really good players. They have all these great dudes, a lot of whom they paid, and they know they're going to have to pay Purdy $60 million plus next year. When you have that looming over your head, and the fact that Aiyuk still has one more year left, you have all these moving parts. Aiyuk rightfully should be paid. He will be paid. What's happened over the last several days, and specifically the last 24 hours, is that Aiyuk has been able to find common ground and rekindle, I think, some of the, hey, bud, stop throwing the ball. Sorry, my son is playing one-on-one baseball.
I love it.
But the boy's never going to stop throwing the ball, Jordan. I got two sons. They're never going to stop throwing the ball.
It's out of control. I mean, the kid's been playing for 12 hours. Right? It doesn't stop.
All right, but yeah, you were talking about common ground. Yeah, you were talking about common ground.
Yeah, so Aiyuk has been able to find common ground with Kyle Shanahan. I reported it a couple hours ago. He had a recent sit-down meeting with the head coach, others in the organization, and I was told that some open and candid thoughts were expressed, and the two sides subsequently have since restarted negotiations on a long-term deal, and there is optimism for the first time in a long time that Aiyuk could actually remain in San Francisco. Now, again, this is a fluid situation, and I hate to use that word as a de facto word almost, but that's how it's been. But this is a sudden development, and this is really the best news that I think the Niners and their fans could have hoped for, considering that, we've heard he's been traded to the Browns. We've heard he's going to be a Steeler. We heard he wanted to go to Washington. There's been a lot of reports, many of which have been untrue, but I can tell you with 100% confidence that following the sit-down between Brandon and Kyle and a couple other people in the Niners organization, that this is the first time in quite some time that there is legitimate optimism regarding a possible long-term extension with Brandon Aiyuk.
That's exciting, Jordan. And I guess the follow-up question for me would be, how far apart do you think they are? Because we heard that he turned down a reported $32 million plus from New England. The team had reportedly offered him 26 before. Where does this sit in terms of how far apart on the number they are?
So the number, okay, so Cleveland was willing to go, I think it was 30 and a half. Pittsburgh, I don't think would have gone over the TJ Watt number, so around 28. Sorry. New England was going to go 32. I think it was 32. I got somewhere between 30 and 32. Cleveland was going about 30 and a half. And then you had Pittsburgh, who was still willing to give a massive number, somewhere around 28, but not wanting to eclipse TJ Watt. And what's happened is that the Niners have basically been around 25 to 26. They have to come up into that 28-ish range. That, to me, is the sweet spot. Because realistically, you can now hear my dog. I mean, this is literally just a
lot going on
night at the Schultz house.
All good.
But what's happened is that now that they've restarted negotiations, you if you're the Niners, okay, so maybe we're not going to get him at the number we wanted, but we now have to, in good faith, negotiate with the kid and come up to somewhere around that sweet spot, that $28 million, because he was willing, Brandon, I believe, to be a Steeler, and unfortunately for the Niners, they were unable to find the type of package back because they want a receiver back. If they're going to make a trade, that's been the issue. They want and Amari Cooper back. They want a big-time receiver back. And because Pittsburgh doesn't have that, because Pittsburgh's not trading them George Pickens, for example, or any player, I believe, they've now almost by default said, okay, let's go back and really try to figure this out. But the beautiful thing is, if you're a Niner fan, is that Kyle and Brandon, I think, both realize we have something super special here. A Super Bowl is attainable. They've had and continue to have a very healthy friendship. And Aiyuk's never been a malcontent in the locker room. He's always been well liked. You put all of that into – thank you so much, buddy. You put all of that into consideration, I believe the sweet spot is going to be somewhere around $28 million plus, where they've been at between 25 and 26. So San Francisco is going to come up, hopefully, if you're Brandon Aiyuk. And then if you're Brandon Aiyuk, you say, okay, this is probably the best case scenario for me. I want to win a Super Bowl, and hopefully they can get something done. But this is the most optimistic I've been in quite some time that they could find common ground.
NFL insider Jordan Schultz. And Jordan, we know you got to run, but I do want to bring up the fact that about 90 minutes ago, Brandon was on Instagram, commented on a screenshot of the Pelissero report, which is similar to yours, and said Niners are in the media every day. It's two options out there. Pick one and stop dropping reports, which, sounds like there's still some tension there. So you're mentioning optimism. I guess my question is, how much optimism?
Well, I would say, first of all, I think any team is, especially in a case like this, any team, the Niners or any other organization, everyone has often they have their media people that they go to. And clearly there has been leaks coming from several sides in this case. And that's completely normal. And it's, part of the business, whatever, like that's going to happen. I don't read too much into that. What I read more into is the fact that regardless of how good the relationship is between Brandon and the team, it still comes down to the money, because not right now. It still comes down to the money, because he realizes that this is his chance, his best chance to get generational money and generational wealth, not just for him, but for his family. And so, I empathize for the kid. I also understand where the organization is coming from. To me, it honestly becomes a no-brainer to pay him, because you simply cannot replace him. That's the leverage that Brandon has had. The team said, well, we drafted Pearsall. We love him. We paid Jennings. Look what happened when San Francisco traded DeForest Buckner. They were unable to find a replacement. Kinlaw had his moments late, but that was supposed to be the guy. Didn't quite go that way. Aiyuk is saying, you can't replace me. He knows that. I think the team knows that. And he's frustrated. He's been frustrated. And I think as a result of all of that, and the fact that there is equity there coming in from his best season yet, I talked to someone close to him yesterday who said he believes he's going to be better this year. He said to me something really interesting, and I'll end with this. He said that Brandon told him that it's the first time in his career, not just the NFL, first time in his life, that in watching the receivers, he's really seeing things that he could actually apply, because he obviously hasn't practiced. So he's seeing guys, and he's saying, oh, I could do that here. I could run this route here. And he said the game, it's slowing down. He's seeing the game in a way to say that he hasn't seen before. There's a football acumen that's come at 26 years old. So you combine that with his talent, his route running, I really think that he's still ascending as a football player. So that's a long way of saying I'm fairly confident that they're going to get an extension done.
Yeah, well, that's great stuff. Hey, Jordan, I know you have to run, so you can answer this in 10 seconds. I mean, is a trade even close if this doesn't go well?
No.
Okay.
No.
Yeah.
I would say a trade at this point between Cleveland or Pittsburgh is not close. That doesn't mean that it couldn't come back. And if it were between those two, I would put Pittsburgh in front, certainly in front by a long shot. But I don't believe that a trade is imminent at all.
Okay. Hey, Jordan, thank you so much for squeezing us in. Say hi to your family and your dog.
Yeah, I got the dog, the cat, and we got a kitten. I mean, it's just a mess. But I appreciate you guys.
Nice, Jordan.
And I look forward to talking soon.
Yep, absolutely, man. Thank you so much. There he goes. Jordan Schultz in what was maybe the most relatable interview I've ever heard in my entire life.
How many of those do you do with a dog and 3 kids?